Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, to heck with the president and ISIS and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I saw this morning. The judge, it's a very strange system of justice in South Africa. The judge has already decided that Pistorius was not guilty of premeditated murder, but that he was in some way negligent. The judge says he did not intend to kill her, and it's up to the judge to decide if he is found guilty of culpable homicide. That's what he still could be found guilty of. But the judge...
I wonder what that means.
Well, it means sort of like, I think it's like reckless endangerment. I think it's like he didn't intend to kill her, but he didn't completely do everything. I was a little surprised by this, but it turns out that the judge, who, by the way, is said, we're looking at some of the CNN, is said to be some tough cookie, right? And that she, who has listened to all the testimony, apparently buys the defense more than, and she says a lot of the witnesses who heard screaming, she said they were awakened, they were unclear. She says the technological evidence suggests that he did. I don't know. I don't know. I've not been following the case that well. I have to admit I'm shocked.
But see, that's weird. Like, I'm reading here, evidence suggests that Pistorius genuinely believed that the person... Well,
was an
if
intruder.
That's the case, then I would say he's not guilty at all. I mean, yes, his bullets did kill her, but...
Well, I think he's guilty of some things because when they went in and then found he had ammunition there he isn't supposed to have, or he's not registered to have. They're also trying him for 2 other counts.
Oh, I see.
Separate incidents of shooting outside his car.
Well, and as you said, we don't know the law there. By our law, I mean, you would say, forgetting the gun NRA business, because they did say that in his, upper-class neighborhood, there were instances of burglary.
Right,
so I would say... If that's the case, and they allow for guns as we do, then what was wrong with what he did?
The judge buys the fact that she thinks the screams that were heard. That's the thing that always resonated with me. Neighbors heard screams, and if Reva was screaming from the bathroom, then he knew that it was her as opposed to some intruder.
Well, but no, she must have only screamed once the bullets started.
She said, the judge said that the bullets, blah, 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 then the screams. The scream, she said, was Pistorius.
Oh.
This is the judge. I don't know.
As opposed to...
Yeah, I am in no position to second-guess any of it because some more of what the judge said. The accused had reasonable time to reflect. This is where he's still in some jeopardy.
Okay.
To think and to conduct himself reasonably. I am not persuaded that a reasonable person with the accused's disability, absence of legs, in the same circumstances would have fired 4 shots. into that small toilet cubicle.
Well, but if you were frightened.
Who knows? I mean, she said...
And you were disabled. Now, granted, he's an athlete and all this business, but I mean, if I felt in the middle of the night that I couldn't jump out as
So she thinks he used excessive force and acted too hastily, even if he thought it was just a little overdone.
Yeah.
Pistorius, not surprisingly, was crying throughout the reading of the verdict.
Yes, he has been through the whole trial.
But I mean, I don't, so who knows?
Yeah,
I think one thing we found out about him, he's a piece of work, and he's not a nicest guy in the world either.
Well, does it mean that? I mean,
it doesn't mean anything.
Someone said just because you're disabled doesn't mean you're nice.
It does. I know exactly.
And he became this star, and I'm sure he acted as such. I mean, that doesn't mean he killed the murder, but the fact that he was this big hunkety-hunk, the disabled star and beautiful-looking man and great body, and maybe, this girlfriend treated him like a girlfriend, but not as a god.
We don't know. It's all yappity.
Yeah, right. I mean, sure, it's all third hand.
So she just seemed to. She wasn't giving too much credit to any eyewitnesses. Not eyewitnesses, but sound.
Oh, sound. Right.
People who heard things. She said technology is more reliable than human perception and human memory.
True.
And she said the wounds were immediately incapacitating, which meant she didn't think Rena could have screamed at all. And she said the screaming must have been Pistorius.
When he realized who it was.
Right. So who knows? Who knows? But he still faces 3 weapons charges. I mean, he could do some time. Ammunition that he wasn't supposed to have, as I said, and two other incidents where he's alleged to have recklessly fired a gun in public, both of which. But that seems to have nothing to do with her case. So it looks like he.
Well, but that's true here too. Sometimes if they can't get someone who everyone knows did it, they'll try to get him, a lesser charge is better than nothing, and I'm sure it may be part of that.
So that was that news was too late to be in your morning newspaper in case that is how you receive your information. Hey, what do you think about the shrinking Post-Gazette?
Oh, well, it was very funny because the morning,
paper.
Tuesday was the first issue, I think so, of the new format.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I get the New York Times as well.
Right.
And you picked the two, I was like, huh.
What is it? It just, I'm still not used to it. It seems so small.
Yeah, it does.
It's so odd.
But it is a little, as someone said in one of the letters I think it was this morning.
Oh, they're printing nothing but rave reviews.
No, but I mean, the person did say it is a little easier to navigate at the breakfast table. Well, it's true.
Well, that's true.
Well.
But there's no way there's the same amount of news in there. There's no way. You cannot take... Because you can't strip.
Oh, because you're
space.
saying that the
it's not thicker.
Wait. You're saying the typography is the same.
Same.
Okay. Well, then you're right. All right.
And they said they'll have the same amount of news. There's no way there's the same amount of news. And
yeah, because if you took the whole newspaper and shrunk it, the type would have to shrink too. And I didn't have any problems reading. No,
they know that people who read newspapers are generally old farts like
comatose.
us, and we don't like small print.
Well, and also I'm sure there must be some, if not rules, standards of less than 12 point whatever is not legible in a magazine or newspaper at least.
So were you a good citizen and did you watch the president's speech?
Yeah, and it was sort of predictable and boring. Not that it's bad, but he didn't say anything.
They're always boring, and you know what?
No, that's not true.
I start listening. I start being very,
But it was short. It was like 12 minutes.
Still too long. I realized it was too long because I realized all of a sudden I wasn't listening anymore.
Well, what did you want? We're going to go and kill them damn fuckers?
No, I mean, you just sort of, I don't know, the mind wanders. I don't know. And I don't know. And I'm always so astonished at how people who don't know a damn thing about anything. And they
Isn't that what the show's all about?
That's what the show is all about. But with such certainty.
Well, yeah, sure,
and
of course.
such, he should have, and because he didn't, as if you could prove, if he had done something else.
Well, I watched, I think it was CBS, and they didn't, I think
they didn't do something right.
No, they didn't.
They just went right back to programming.
Yeah, right.
Which was, I thought, I said, thank you very much.
Well, I know, because I was flipping for something else, and I looked at PBS after it. And they had, because Gwen Eiffel was saying, no, we will have these 52 people, opine. I thought, enough. The two things I thought were interesting was, number one, in all of his, points, he didn't mention drones, which is, one of the main things.
He didn't say drone. He said we have taken. No, he said something about we have targeted, we have taken out, and all the people he was talking about killing, except bin Laden, were taken out by drones.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He just assumes that.
But I think but I think drones are a little, because didn't a drone kill some Americans by mistake? There was one incident.
Not by mistake.
No,
drones have killed Americans that were working with the bad guys.
I thought this was a mistake. It sort of went off, and there was some troops there. But then the other thing, the only thing in my mind was, and I suppose he didn't want to say this, and I suppose maybe he can't, but you sit there and think, oh yeah, if this is going to escalate, which it is, to not even raise the possibility of, well, maybe we're going to send ground troops. I mean, I know that's opening a can of worms, but
no. You know what?
It will go to
this is what it's going to be like. Welcome to life for the next
10 years,
20.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 30.
Yeah.
So I saw somebody was saying, the 30-year war. Well, this could be like one of those things where it's going to take generations for this part of the world to figure out what the hell they're doing. I don't know. I have a feeling I'm like most Americans. I just want it all to go away. Yeah. I've lost interest in this weird way.
Well, what I think has been interesting, both in the local paper but also in the Times, there was an interesting piece in the local paper today by a woman who was Muslim and talking about this business. And more they've been running articles about, Muslims saying, this is not our
religion. Right.
This is not not even this is not what Islam is about, any Islam, if you look back at the Holy Book. And, what one needs is some major imam or some major political official, but I suppose it has to be an imam, and they're one and the same in some countries, to come out and finally say, enough already with this ISIS bullshit. The other thing I thought was interesting.
But it's not just ISIS, because there's all these other perversions of...
true. But, what I thought was interesting, just from a point of view...
excuse me, we haven't mentioned?
What?
It's 9/11. And I was just thinking, that wasn't the Islamic State.
No, it wasn't.
That was Al-Qaeda. Right. That was now, 13 years ago? What was that? Yeah, 13 years ago.
13.
And it was just, it was at 10:03, so it's like it just 7 minutes. No, 10:03 was when the plane went down.
No, there.
In Somerset, in Pennsylvania.
Somerset, right.
And that wasn't to think that, okay, these guys are particularly horrific. I guess they're particularly horrific in the way they present themselves and what they're doing. Right. But let us not forget that they have supplanted other groups that are horrific.
Well, the only thing, though, about ISIS is they, for the first time, are saying they represent for the entire Islamic world the purity. Well, I know, but that's the first sort of, if you're from an advertising point of view, it's like saying we are the most whiter than white.
Well, you know what? I don't even want to talk about them.
Okay. But, it was interesting from an editorial point of view, literally type editing, that for the first time the president used ISIL, which up until now had been the European way of referring to it. We had always said ISIS.
No, we're saying ISIL, ISIS, ISIL, ISIS. I think they've been saying ISIL. Oh, no, a lot of people in D.C. have been saying ISIL. And I wish everybody would.
Just decide.
Just agree.
Them.
I like ISIL better than ISIS because I don't think ISIS should be, ISIS is, we already have a sense of what ISIS is, and it's an Egyptian goddess, and leave her alone.
And the other refers to...
Leave her out of this.
Iraq and Libya.
No.
Iraq and Syria. No. Oh, no, then that was ISIS.
You know what the L is?
What is the L now?
Levant.
Oh, the Levant. That's right. But what's interesting is the Levant is very much, has always been seen, at least in more recent, as a colonial term of, Europe saying, oh, go to the Levant. It's just out there, that eastern place. So it's slightly dismissive.
Well,
Like that's very, like, for example, you look at Africa, it used to be the Congo,
right?
Or the Sudan, and now it's Sudan.
The Ohio State.
Yeah, right.
And speaking of that, so, well, I don't want to talk about it.
Bring up sports again. Please,
I know you're not the person to do that.
Well, but you didn't respond publicly to my email the other day. And I said, wasn't it interesting when the two news, it was the day that the
Yeah, but you are no one to be talking about sports.
What do you mean?
It was such I was going to, like, counter what you said. Okay, so.
What I said was, I opened that was the day when the shrunk PG came. So I wrote to Lynn the day on Tuesday, and I said, isn't it interesting that when the New York Times on the front page notes the winner of the male finals at the U.S. Open, and it was noteworthy because for the first time in years...
He was a Bosnian, right?
No, not Bosnian.
What was he? He was up against a Japanese guy.
Croatian, I think.
Okay. I always
she was going to say, Croatia,
Bosnia.
Yeah, right.
Hey, listen,
Iowa,
I'm an American,
Idaho.
okay? I don't
I'm an American. All of a sudden we've changed to CNN here. Anyway.
Okay, so
anyway, it was on the front page, as it should
be. So the New York Times, what do you mean as it should be?
Well, it's an international sports event, not a Midwestern, it's an international sports event. Pardon me, with international participants.
In a paper of record.
Yes. Wait a minute.
Wait. That is a local paper.
Yes, but you turned nothing.
Okay, and so
you turned to the sports page, which I do look at. And I just thought, so what do we have? Sidney Crosby sort of saying like, is my wrist broken? Then it was something to do with the Penguins. No, then something to do with the Pirates about something to do.
You're talking about the sports page of the Post-Gazette on the same day.
And then somewhere
way at the bottom,
like U.S. Open won by.
This town isn't into tennis. This town is into hockey. You got to know your audience. And you also said in that thing you sent me, you said something about something about the Pirates. You made a disparaging term for how the Pirates were doing. Yes, you did. And I'm thinking,
no, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Did not.
Yes, you did. The failing Pirates or something.
Last season they were very good.
Hello? See, you're just showing how
I saw the rankings.
Out of it you are.
I know how to read the rankings.
No, you don't.
Oh, no, I don't.
Right now, they're in the playoffs right now. How is that, Tom? They're in the playoffs right now. There are things called wild card positions, and
pardon me. Let's move to another subject.
Most baseball teams do not get into the playoffs. Right now, the Pirates are they're making us nervous, but right now they have a good shot at being in the playoffs for the second year in a row. You don't call them whatever negative thing you called them. Jess is Jess is on my side on this one. You're wrong. When I get into the realm of art, I'm an idiot. When you get into the realm of sports, you're an idiot.
No, I'm not an idiot, but I don't say, for example, pardon me, that, the Metropolitan Museum is so much better than the Louvre because it's an American museum. Just like you say, it's Pittsburgh sports.
No, I'm talking about
sports in general.
Who buys the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette? Pittsburghers. They're the
only
ones
but there are Pittsburghers who care about the world.
The information
is there. Not just Lawrenceville.
Next time you see David Shribman, take it up with him, okay?
Oh, he never wants to use his paper as a bully pulpit, which is what editors should do.
Maybe so. Yeah, he seems sort of namby-pamby, doesn't
he? Well, no, to be perfect, because I know this from someone who's heard this from him firsthand. It's not namby-pamby in the sense that he is afraid to take a bully. He believes the newspaper shouldn't be a bully pulpit. And my view is it has been throughout history in the world, let alone the United States, that newspapers have brought down Tammany Hall and other such things because they have the both authority and a breadth to say a politician.
But in order to have authority, they have to be thought of as credible. And in order to be credible, this is where he's coming from. They have to be perceived as a fair arbiter of well,
they're
of
getting
what
our
they're
esteemed colleague Chris Potter will make him even more credible.
I'm kidding.
All right, you're kidding.
Okay, so here's my favorite story of the day. I will read it to you, okay? A Pennsylvania teen was charged on Tuesday with desecrating a sacred object. Did you know that was a possible infraction? After he posted photos of himself simulating oral sex with a statue of Jesus. All right, I go on.
All right.
A police report said that the teen, who Pennsylvania State Police did not identify, had, quote, posted pictures of himself on Facebook, desecrating a statue of Jesus. The photo shows the head of a kneeling Jesus in the crotch of the teen.
Kneeling man. Yeah, right.
The teen did not appear to be violating indecency laws because he was wearing pants.
Jeez.
Instead, state police, this is the Pennsylvania State Police, charged this kid under what the Associated Press reported as a rarely used 1972 law that makes it a crime to desecrate a venerated object. I got to tell you, First Amendment, that is a law like that is totally unconstitutional.
Yeah.
It's totally unconstitutional.
And also, I think it's stupid and disgusting.
Why would
and it's a children's prank. But the point is, he didn't desecrate the statue. He just made a sort of photo montage. And it's the what do you call it? The desecration is in your mind.
And
so to speak.
No one would have seen this, but now the Pennsylvania State Police have ensured that this kid is like a hero to a lot of people, and it's
to other kids. Yeah,
and
it's just stupid. It's a prank.
Of course,
it's a tasteless teenage prank, and let's not make it into more than it is. But I'm sure pulpits will be ringing on Sunday if they're not already.
That's just unbelievable.
Stupid.
Unbelievable.
Stupid.
And if that is a law, I don't think that law would stand up to constitutional scrutiny.
Well, but the only thing on that is nowadays, if you went through every state in the union, let alone there's all sorts of antediluvian, stupid laws, right. And it's like picking, needles.
Antediluvian is one of those words
before
like
the flood.
Yeah. That's what it means, before the flood. Yes. But that's not how, so that means old
Noah's flood.
Okay. Another word that always, because antediluvian used to throw me, and I'm going to blank on the word now. I want to say
you thought it was like anti-M?
Pre-prandial?
Or post-prandial or pre-prandial.
Post-prandial or pre-prandial.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Before or after
lunch.
Dinner.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
Yeah, right.
Before or after lunch?
Lunch, yes.
Did you know that? Why does that mean? What is
it has to come from Latin or Greek, but must be Greek because
every once in a while you'll bump into that if you're reading and you think, what the hell?
Yeah, it must be Greek.
That's one of those cases where I would just say, why don't you just say so after lunch?
Well, but the point is, how many words do we have in English that come from French, German, maybe more from Latin, and some just are used more frequently, so hence we don't question their etymology, true. And the ones that are more refined, like postprandial. So we have postprandial speech.
Antediluvian. Okay, Chuck writes, on the president's speech, I felt his speech would have come across better if he had been sitting at his desk in the Oval Office. I felt the American flag on his right and the black flag on... What was the black flag?
I didn't notice that.
What would a black flag have been? And the black flag on his left made him look like a dictator. Why do the Republicans get to give a rebuttal They do? On every presidential speech?
Usually, yeah.
Oh, no. Only on State of the Union. What happened here is Fox, of course, would give the Republic. Yeah, Fox would, but none of the other networks did. Did they? Fox carried it, but I don't think any other station carried it. And Ted Cruz gave the rebuttal. My second time through the speech, I fell asleep. Your second time through the speech?
Well, he's thorough.
Wow, Chuck.
Well, maybe after hearing the rebuttal, he wanted to hear the original again.
I'm wondering about the flags that he's brought up. Where's the picture?
It can't be, because I don't know, but I can't believe that either the District of Columbia, well, that could be really, or unless the president has his own flag?
No.
Well, I don't know.
The only black flag
maybe
I can think of...
the color was wrong on his
Yeah,
TV.
Maybe you should adjust your color. The only black flag I can think of is there's a POW kind of flag, but that wouldn't be up there. Why would that be up there?
That's white, isn't it?
No, I think it's black.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay, here's PJ. 2 U.S. soldiers were killed in friendly fire drone attack in Afghanistan.
That goes up as a kind of mourning?
That's what you were saying when you said our drones have killed Americans.
Oh, right. I thought you meant the black flag.
No, so you were right about that. I don't know when... I don't know when this was, though.
It was a month
Recently?
or so ago. Yeah, fairly recent. Because that was the whole point of drones, that, you push the button, and granted, through radar and whatever, they're supposed to be able to hit the head of a pin. But if people move near the head of the pin, they're going to get zonked out.
They were mistaken for the Taliban.
Yeah.
Well...
Black flag is a bug spray, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I doubt if maybe they were sponsoring the president's. What do you guys? This is a Chick-fil-A sponsored.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Chick-fil-A. I see.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I read in the local paper. There's a guy, and I bet he's going to get after this in the city paper. A local guy who is Korean has a restaurant in Oakland that's called Chick. But the filet, they do something funny with the...
Oh, he's going to get sued?
Well, because he's doing a Korean form of fried chicken, which is supposed to be delicious. I've never had it. But I'm sure they're going to, just like in the paper this morning, the guy who wanted to have the Carnegie
There's a guy
Deli
on 4th Avenue. Is it called 4th Avenue? Mm-hmm. Where the bank building is, that old, wonderful old banks. And there's a poor guy who opened up his, and he called it the Carnegie Deli. Now, how does the Carnegie Deli in New York City
And that's the Carnegie Deli.
And that's the Carnegie Deli. That's
pronunciation.
Right. They say the Carnegie Deli there. We say the Carnegie Deli.
Well, I heard someone in New York once say before. They said Andrew Carnegie will be roasted or whatever at the Carnegie Hall. So...
How did they even hear? I didn't even hear. I live in the city. I didn't hear there was a Carnegie Deli here.
Well, I'm sure there has to be postings and people and law firms who what do you call it, are in the business of searching every morning. I remember with Andy Warhol. This wasn't our purview, but the Andy Warhol Foundation, they had a search engine out there.
Always looking for contraband.
Yeah, because people, make a lot of money off of using famous names. In fact, there are people, I didn't really know this until I got into all this with the museum, but who when something like, let's say today, some new product, people immediately go and buy up domain names so that even if, let's say, the Andy Warhol Museum, you could have owned, before the museum opened, Andy Warhol Museum, and we would have had to pay you $25,000 to buy it from you, even though you have no intellectual or moral right to own it. You just got there first. Deceptions, deceits, and doggerel of the IT world.
This whole thing about who owns stuff. I mean, there was a piece that bored me silly, but I'm sure it was important that in the paper today about how the University of Pittsburgh is asking every single person who works there to sign an agreement saying that anything they do, so say you're a researcher and you come up with something, that anything you do belongs to them and does not belong to you. And I really have a problem with that.
Well, the answer would be, and I had a friend whose mother was a scientist, I think she's deceased now, who created the waxy, I remember we brought this up at dinner years and years ago. My mother created the waxy milk carton, which keeps milk. Uh-huh. And we also said,
well, that's pretty incredible.
Well, it was great. But because she was working for Procter & Gamble or whatever it was. She
never had a cent.
Never got a cent. And so the question is, you say, oh, isn't that person? But on the other side, even this friend said, she wouldn't have had the medical facilities, the money to do the zillions of tests.
But it totally discounts the fact that it was her talent that took all of
According to the law, that is called work for hire. In other words, if I hire you as a journalist...
It's happened to me.
Yeah, as a journalist, you're speaking for Chick-fil-A. Yeah. You're not Lynn Cullen. You're speaking and I'm paying you. But if you say, hey, you're using my name, Lynn Cullen says, go to Chick-fil-A.
Well, here's okay. Something like this happened to me once, and I thought it was just such an outrage. I was relatively new to Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. I was working as a TV reporter at Channel 4, and I was told by somebody that if I wanted to enter the Emmy contest, that I should do so in the feature category, and but that it would cost. I have to pay. I forget what it was, $50, $100. I don't know what it was. Right. And I was stunned. I said, "What do you mean? You mean I have to pay to enter the contest?" And they said, "Yeah, you do." I said, "Well, screw it." I said, "If my work is good, I shouldn't have to pay to have it."
I don't need no Emmy.
I don't need no stinking Emmy. I said, I don't want it. No, I'm not going to pay to get an Emmy.
Right.
So that's the last I heard of it.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden I hear that I won an Emmy. And I thought, what? What did I win an Emmy for? And I found out that behind my back...
the station had paid...
Behind my back, the station had taken some of my work and put it in and paid. Because they figured it was Emmy quality and they'd get...
So it was Lynn Cullen of KDKA or whatever.
No, it wasn't. So I said, I got an Emmy, so where can I have this... Where's my little Emmy statue?
Yeah, right.
And you know what? I was told that I technically didn't have the Emmy because the name on the Emmy was James Hefner, General Manager, WTAE-TV. He had the goddamn Emmy.
Because it was work for hire.
His name.
You were an employee of TAE.
It was my goddamn Emmy.
But it worked for hire,
here's what I did go into him and I say, you got my Emmy.
And I have an empty space and I've dusted on my mantle.
You've got my Emmy. You give me my Emmy. And he did eventually.
Oh.
He gave me the Emmy, and I pried his name off. It was on.
Did you go to one of those monument stores that have a little flat?
No, it has it's blank. It doesn't. But I got the Emmy. Hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, I wanted to ask you when you did the news back in the day, did you ever say, "We'll pray for him"? Or
no, excuse me. I just need. No.
You never heard that on television.
Caller, wait.
The newscasters, they all say that. I'm thinking, what if atheists is watching the TV show? What the hell makes a difference?
I didn't hear a word you said. Wait, I didn't hear a word you said. Because, Jess, I don't care what the F he did. I need to hear a caller. Excuse me. Okay, could you do that again?
No, I asked if when you did the news, you never said back in the days about, we'll pray for him or our thoughts or prayers are, with him. Nowadays on these newscasters, that's all they say. And I'm thinking, how do they know a bunch of atheists aren't watching the show? It's like they assume every's a Christian out there.
Yeah, yeah, right. I agree.
It's under my skin. Not that I don't say I don't believe, but it's the same way as these people will say, well, Joan Rivers is up in heaven with, making God laugh. It just irritates the hell out of me how these people think.
Well, everybody. Yeah, everybody deals with this, with death in our own way, and we all probably I don't know. I agree with you, though. There's more than there's ever been of it. And I've gotten so that it's just like white noise. I just
but not in Allegheny County. They voted not.
Well, yeah. So thank God that was one good thing that happened. In God We Trust is not going to be emblazoned on the walls of the county council. But yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And God bless America. So help me God. And I always find myself saying, dear God in heaven. I'm always saying that, dear God in heaven. But for me, it's like I also say Jesus, and I don't even...
Well, the question was, I mean, and the point that came up when he was talking is, I completely understand it from a libertarian point of view, but there's the question that how many words, whether it has to do with divinity or profanity even in certain ways, becomes somewhat generic. And I guess the question is, over and above the people who are, desperately offended if they are an atheist or something, we say so many things like you're a Jewish person, but you say, oh, Jesus, like just as a kind of mini profanity. These things become sort of generic and they water down. And the question is, should we sort of get our knickers in a twist or just let it pass? But then the other question may be, well, if it's a profanity, then it was once based upon, the invoking of a god or something sexual, whatever, and that shouldn't be allowed to become generic and watered down.
I remember being really shocked when I first started doing talk radio. And, was talking, and people would call, and they were just, would you please stop using the name of the Lord in vain? And I'd say, and that was on the radio, so I wasn't saying, like, God damn it. I wasn't saying Jesus Christ. I wasn't. I said, what do you mean? What am I saying? And it was just simply saying, oh, God, what do you mean? It was just something as... throwaway as that.
That's what I'm saying. It's become...
And I thought, wow, man, wowee. Hey, PJ sent us a picture of the president giving the speech last night, and that black flag...
That is the president's flag.
It's a presidential flag.
Deep blue.
Who knows?
It is deep blue. Look. Blue suit, blue flag. It's not black.
No, his suit's much bluer than that.
I know that.
But you think it's blue?
Whatever
it is.
Blue.
It's blue.
So change your TV color monitor.
Adjust your monitor. Chuck also writes, I think the black flag was the... oh, yes, right, okay.
Redundant.
Enough. It was... Okay. Too much information, same old information. You know what? We got to take a quick little break, and we'll be back momentarily.
You want a soda? Oh, you have.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Go to lynncullenlive.com and download the Pittsburgh City Player app. It's for iPhone and Android, where Lynn Cullen is live and on demand 24/7. BergBargains.com is your best bet for great deals in the Berg. Log on today for exclusive bargains from Nakama, Nordstrom's, Verde, the BZ's Bar and Grill, and Cheesecake Factory. BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
The traditional light bulb, a groundbreaking invention in 1879. It's time we switch to longer-lasting Energy Star light bulbs. They're more efficient than the old bulbs, like a text message is more efficient than a carrier pigeon. And they cut down on our energy costs. Because in our own groundbreaking age, we deserve a light bulb that saves us some cash. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual Fall Arts Preview is available now. Pick up one today for the most comprehensive arts, music, and events listings, plus previews of the top shows and performances coming to the Berg this fall. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Okay, hang on. I don't want you reading ahead of me. Okay, you just look away.
All right, look away.
Look away, Dixieland.
Yes.
This is from Ray. Okay. It's addressed to Tom.
Okay.
Lynn. It's addressed to Tom, and then I said, it's addressed to me, but it's about Tom.
I'm bristling already.
Lynn, I want to ask Tom a question. but I don't want to offend him in any way. I know, because you got a bromance going. Don't worry about it. So, as I am a big fan, you know, he's a big fan of yours. You guys love each other. I know that. But here we go.
Right. Read.
I was sitting in a pub. Where were you, in England? We don't have pubs in this country. You got bars, man. I was sitting in a pub watching an afternoon...
The queen of the hoi polloi here, really.
Watching a Pirates-Cubs game.
Yes.
I sat down next to what I assume was a young 30-ish gay guy.
Yes.
I assume he was gay because of his handbag.
I'm beginning to bristle, Ray.
Wait a minute. He's not done. There's more.
That's like that line from The Importance of Being Earnest. I was found in a handbag. No, wait. No, luggage
Bracknell.
with handles in the so-and-so station. That's the greatest line.
I played Lady Bracknell in The Importance of Being Earnest.
But that line, remember?
Handbag.
What was it, the great one? An English actress. Go on, a handbag, all right.
Okay, so
we all have handbags.
He's in a pub. He's sitting next to a guy he assumes is gay because of his handbag, his affectation, and loud references to the bartender about his fashion obsessions.
Oh, she starts to lisp. All right, thank you. I'm going to hit that sore arm of yours real hard.
Oh, no, okay, I'm sorry.
Go on.
What is with that lisping thing, though?
Is that a lot of... I don't know, actually.
What do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's weird.
No, it is. I mean, as we said before, it's stereotypes of all sorts.
But do you think it's is that an affectation?
I don't think so. I don't know, actually.
I don't either. I've often wondered about that.
All of you lisping homosexuals out there, please
but there's
call
a certain
it.
kind. So it's not lisping. Lisping is this.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So what the sort of stereotypical gay thing is sort of like, what is it? It's sibilant. I think it's sibilance. And I wonder what that is.
My gut feeling would be that at some point, some very famous person who was gay or thought to be gay had that affectation and people took it. But I don't know.
I don't know either. I would think, though, it's an affectation. That's my guess.
You're getting close, Ray.
Okay, here we go. References to the bartender about his fashion. Yeah. During some cheering from the patrons about the game, he made, the gay guy, a sarcastic remark about these Pittsburgh men and their love of sports. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll stop.
Stop.
Okay. He then defied believability by feigning confusion about what sport was being played.
Okay.
Would you agree that strains credulity that he wouldn't know baseball from football?
Of course.
He said he didn't think football had started yet, and the Irish bartender told him it was a baseball game. My question is, and here's my fear of offense. Oh. Okay, here's a question. Oh, you're ahead of me.
No, I'm not reading.
Is there an anti-sports undercurrent in the gay community? And if so, where does Tom think that comes from? I would feel bad if we sport lovers were driving away from what I feel is a great experience. Sorry, Ray. I just want to say about that, I don't know the most rabid sports fans I know, football fans, are lesbians. Oh, I mean, I won't even. No.
That's what we would call damning with faint praise.
No. Really. Every lesbian I know is like a crazy.
You gave me a perfect entree. Okay, Ray, I'm not offended by your rather simplistic question. No. No. I mean, in the first place, haven't we found recently, and I can't remember their names, but a number of gay athletes who have come out. Well, there was one in college sports. There was one in national sports. Then there was a big fracas over the professional sports because of being in the shower by himself.
Yes,
that was all. I think no. It's if there is an anti-sport undercurrent, it's because I think all of us who are gay people, or many of us. Let's put it this way: not all of us. We're all. It's all very. It's a big parabola. Sports have for years in American culture and in many other cultures been the purview of ultra excessive masculinity. not necessarily about fitness, but like a real man can throw a touchdown. And so I think when people feel they're not good at sports, and that can play upon, many gay people will talk about the fact of, or also skinny Jewish boys, to come a nice, being the last one picked when you're on a baseball. I guess you'll have to take little Moshe there,
Exactly.
So then when one gets in another realm, I've a bunch of, let's say gay people, and you have one person there from sports, then they take all the stereotypes, and one could talk about Irish drunks with small penises in an Irish pub.
Oh, hold that thought about small penises. Right. No, really, seriously.
No, but I'm saying...
Hold the thought.
It's
small
all about
penises.
Butts.
I have something I want to...
All right, fine.
All right.
So, but when she says, the eponymous queen of the hoi polloi next to me, about the greatest sports fans she knows are big lesbians...
I didn't say big.
All right, well, I'm making it worse.
One, in fact, is very tiny.
All right, I'm making it worse. But the point is, I think, again, women acting against type. Women aren't sports lovers. Men are. So sometimes you find the stereotypes of, no, I'm not saying you, wait a minute. Of course, I'm not saying you're the exception. When one looks about stereotypical male or stereotypical female, crinoline dresses, making pedophores, going to bridge clubs, men building roads, changing the laws, sweating it out on the tarmac. Yeah, there's some people who do that, but there's such a mixture in between. And I think there are some sports lovers who sort of sense, unless you act the way I do about sports, I'm not against sports. And what I was saying earlier was I just think there is a scale about sports are not just the Pirates, the Steelers, but the sports are the guy who just won the Open or the Williams girl who ran her 18th U.S. Open. That is what we call... a genius in sports.
Sure.
How many football players have that kind of status? All I'm saying is it's not just about what the norm likes, but that how we all look. I mean, I like certain kinds of sports at certain times. I'm a great opera lover, but I don't go around the world popping in on any performance of Madame Butterfly, because those people are just as lunatic as those people who paint their face yellow and black and go to a Steelers game.
Well done, Mr. Sokolowski. Well done.
Well, thank you. And thank you for asking that question, Ray. And you said it in kindness, so I forgive you for your heterosexual, testosterone-reeking question.
But Lynn writes, William, I thought Pittsburgh was famous for its ardent female sports fans. I don't know. I mean, in my family, women are into sports. I mean, we're not playing them necessarily, but no, I'm a great spectator. Although football's starting to be something I'm not into.
Why is that?
All the things. It's too violent. It's this, that.
I'm really about that man.
I'm really starting to. No. And I don't even want to. And okay. I mean, it's just I feel a little bit like my hands are dirty when I aid and abet them by watching. Because I really think it's becoming. I've been talking about this for years, but I don't want to talk about it.
Wait, no, listen. I don't want to say it, but I think what's wrong here, and this gets into, I think, ultimately some of what we're raising, because it's getting beyond the fact of, is this player good? It's big business. And for example, in this case, whether that man or someone at wherever it was, the sports, saw that tape, which supposedly last night, they said they had it a month ago, I would go, he probably did, someone did see it, but that guy was a good player, and they didn't want to screw with the ratings.
Well, sure.
And that would be the same thing with opera. Like, for example, there was just another case. There's one very world-famous tenor, and in Italy, as some people know, they have these things called claques. They're paid people who applaud.
Yeah.
And this guy, he was afraid he's not appearing at La Scala, which is one of the great, opera places like the Met in the world, because he doesn't want to go out and be booed because he's French and the Italians, these clackers don't like, and they're paid by the other singers.
Oh,
so it's all money and business. It's not about love of the sport or of the art form. It's thuggery.
All right. I still want to get back to this small penis thing, and this also has to do. It does. It has to do with again, a stereotype.
Yes.
And I wasn't even aware of this stereotype. And I became aware of it by reading the New York Times. So
well, if you're going to read about sex, at least do it in the newspaper of record.
It's not often that you're reading the New York Times and come upon this thing about small penises.
Yes.
Okay, here's somebody else, Ansel. Lynn, on any given day, you can tune into any sports talk show and hear at least a dozen heterosexual men prove to the world that they know nothing about sports either. That is so true. Good point. P.S. Ask Tom if he now knows who Chuck Noll is.
Well, I now know who Chuck Noll is, yes.
Okay.
I have a second thing about penises I want to bring up.
Okay.
This is going to be the penis show.
Okay, now I couldn't figure out.
Look what you're giving up, Jess.
I know.
I'm sure they don't use the word penis at the coffee bar very often.
Listen, here's the thing. Here's the thing about small penises.
Yes.
So I'm reading the book review section of the Sunday Times, and there was a review of a memoirish book by a Pulitzer Prize winning Asian American reporter, I believe for the New York Times. I don't know. And he wrote about, in part, about how the struggle that Asian American males feel in this country. And I did not know about this stereotype. They were saying that Asian women are very much, they're thought to be, lovely, beautiful, this and that. Asian men are thought to be puny. They tend to be emasculated, tiny, small, hairless. And then this guy goes on about, the guy who's doing the review is also an Asian American. And he lauds this one for bringing up the unspeakable, untouchable subject that all Asian men apparently are very aware of, which is this thing about
the size of one's
small
phallus.
Penises. And there was nothing to lead me to. I couldn't tell if it's just a stereotype, or in fact it's true that Asian men's penises are smaller. I couldn't tell, but it seemed like
your own life experience didn't.
I have none in that regard. I have never have seen an Asian American man naked. So and I didn't know that was such a thing. And apparently it's it's.
Oh, I mean, you could ask any man. Hello, Ray, out there. No, I mean, the whole thing of, again, from a youth, checking people out in the shower, and it's not about homosexuality. Well, it comes from the whole thing of, animals, and like who's going to be the alpha male, and who is going to be the one to inseminate the herd, and even in animals.
My brother.
Wait a minute. Categorically, that the hens or the female manatees, they pick the alpha one because they want to have the best sperm, so they will have the best genetically best spawn.
But the size. Wait, my brother tells his he remembers this as one of the most harrowing moments of his childhood, when my father took him to the Y to swim, and. So here's this little kid, and he's there with all these men, and they didn't wear bathing suits, right? And he is there, and he's probably at eye level with all of these.
Just like the kid in front of the Jesus statue.
Right. Eye level with all these huge to him. I mean, he was just like, God! I mean, because he just had this little teeny thing, and here are these big things, and he remembers, he always said that my father's was huge, and I think he felt emasculated, but the scariest thing was...
You know what that reminds me of? There's a great Jewish joke in Yiddish about schmuck.
Okay.
No, schmuck means a jerk,
but it also means penis.
Yes, right.
But I think the one that scared him most was a guy named Dan Benton, who
who is renowned even today.
He was a big guy, and he was a rich man, and he was a junk dealer, and he was I think an immigrant, and he was a big guy. And Bill said, my brother, he looked at Dan Benton, and he didn't have a penis. And the reason he didn't have a penis is he had this huge stomach.
That just
that just
protruded.
But he couldn't. So I just think of none of those men were thinking for a minute that this little boy there with them was being traumatized in a way.
And probably knowing what you've said about your family, it wasn't because your family said something or his students. No. But there's something I think goes back, vestigial, you might say, just like what I was saying, sort of animalistic
Right,
notion.
no, I think so.
But my penis thing, not about my penis. And this is only connected to the penis. But did you see, I was fascinated, that, for years, people have wondered, and much money and much ink has been spilled about who was the Jack the Ripper. Mm-hmm. And for a while, they thought it was the English painter, and I can't think of his name at the moment, Patricia Highsmith, the mystery writer.
Yes.
Thought for sure she had written this whole book about that it was probably not Patricia Highsmith, the American writer.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't
anyway,
matter.
all right. But they found a shawl.
Yes, I heard that.
And it turns out that the shawl had DNA, which means obviously effluvia, from the penis of said person. And they now know...
It's the shawl of a woman who he murdered.
That it was a Polish Jew named Kamiński who probably was Jack the Ripper. And it was a name that was in the...
How could they find the name from DNA?
Well, wait. Because this guy was one of the 10 most thought of... Yeah.
His name was...
Kamiński. Kominsky.
Jack the Ripper was a...
Polish Jew. So we were both connected somehow. I really wanted to be the painter, but no, it was Mr. Kamiński.
And his name wasn't Jack. It was Jaime.
Jack Kamiński? I don't remember. No, it wasn't.
Hyman.
No, it wasn't. I don't think so. I think it was like John or something. But anyway.
Wasn't John?
Well, whatever it was, I don't know.
It's John.
It wasn't Hyman, but one of the great mysteries of all time, because it was very interesting. Because they thought at one point it was the Prince of Wales,
Jesus,
and that the reason was that the person was killed because the Prince of Wales had some young girl killed because he didn't want to have a bastard child who at one point could then say that he was an heir to the throne. And then he killed other people.
Wait. And this is the guy who became King Edward.
Yeah, Edward the
Right, the father of Queen Elizabeth's father. Yes.
Or Edward the Fifth.
And you're saying he...
Well, no, one of the thoughts was because he was a great womanizer, and that he impregnated a woman, and his CIA or whatever it was killed this person because they didn't want to have a bastard. But he had
bastards all over the country. That guy slept with every...
Yeah, but no, I don't think he did. I mean, he slept, but I don't think there were bastards. I don't know. But anyway, and then the question was they didn't want it to get back to the king, so they killed like about 10 other women. And so therefore it would get lost in the morass of blood and effluvia. Now, listeners, aren't you glad this has been a show of much...
We're back
messiness.
We're back to effluvia again. Okay, speaking of killing, were you aware of the fact that Governor Corbett has signed a execution warrant? No, we haven't killed anybody in this state.
Most states they haven't in a while.
17 years, I think.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, this guy's scheduled to be killed by lethal injection by us, the state of Pennsylvania.
And his crime?
Rape, murder.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter what his crime is. I mean, you got to.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Stealing a newspaper.
No. And anyway, he's scheduled to be executed on September 22nd, which is right around the corner. And I'm curious as to why this wasn't a bigger story since we haven't done this.
Well, now, what is the deal that we say that we're a state that doesn't do that? Unless the governor intervenes or what?
No.
We do practice, but we haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what's going on here, but the drug cocktail that is going to kill this man, it's unknown if it's... You know what? When it comes down to a bunch of elected officials sitting around deciding how to kill somebody, and I got to say, this lethal injection crap.
Well, as we've learned from, was it Oklahoma?
Yeah, there's been many. It's despicable, and you know what? You know what? Look, if people think capital punishment is necessary and proper, then. And we don't want cruel and unusual punishment, but we're willing to say that is still an okay sentence and that the state can carry out. Then effing carry it out in the most expeditious. Quickly. We know how to kill a person fast.
Yeah.
Put a bullet to their temple. Hang them. Shoot them. But this lethal injection... You know why? And you know why we do it?
It's more sanitary.
Yes, it looks clean.
Looks clean. Well, it's interesting, in this morning's paper, Post-Gazette, this guy woman who was a Muslim talks about visiting or living in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia for some reason or other, and she was invited
to a beheading.
But she said she saw that, she didn't go, but she saw this film where basically it wasn't just like a chop, but literally this little teenager, taking this knife.
Oh, please don't. All right. I don't want to hear it. No.
But the fact was that people would go to these, and it's called something like Chop Chop Mondays. And, because the whole notion, just like putting someone in the rack so it stops, was that you should walk.
Yeah. A guillotine is fast. I mean, if we want to kill somebody, but we don't want to get our hands dirty.
Exactly.
That is how lethal injection came into being.
Yeah,
and it effing doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if the state and the people think that capital punishment is proper, then let's get back to firing squads and gallows and get rid of this.
But what ultimately comes down to it, though, is sometimes the cut isn't clean, and that's true in English history. Sometimes the people who are hang there.
Yes.
So the point is,
bullet to the head.
Well, the point is, killing someone is not
so
clean,
easy.
And if we're going to do it, we either have to.
And it shouldn't be.
Well, no, exactly, and it shouldn't be, because if it was too clean, then we do it for someone scraping our bumper.
And I believe there was I don't know. We'll hear more about this. I think the ACLU in Pennsylvania is very, desirous of involving itself in some manner.
And it shouldn't be based on the anguish of, let's say, family members who remain. It shouldn't be on the bloodlust of angry people. It should be on the legislatures and the voters to say, we think this is wrong, and make a decision.
Well, this state will be the last state to do away with capital punishment.
Texas.
It will be the last state to legalize marijuana.
Well,
it will be the last state to do almost anything in any way progressive.
But in Texas, I think they every month kill at least one person.
Are you kidding?
Oh, it's a tremendous.
One?
I said at least one a month. It's a lot. I think last year was 35 or
they're
something.
killing people left and right there. They can't kill them fast enough.
Okay, corral. Although that was in Arizona, but anyway.
Okay, so that's it. And that's it.
Good hunting, fishing, and boating, as they say on some sports shows.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Tomorrow, Chris Potter's last appearance. Don't miss it.
Don't miss it.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.